Crabman from Crabman Gaming here, and today I'm going through 10 unique games for the PlayStation 2 from my own collection. I own 486 PlayStation 2 games, and I'm going to go through some of the games that I think are the most unique. So not the most expensive or the least expensive or the best, just 10 strange, unique games. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't. Now for my first unique game, I'm going to cheat a little bit and include all of the Australian rules football games on the PlayStation 2. There were 6 games released in just 4 years. Now there have been AFL games released since: AFL Live on the PS3, AFL Live 2, AFL Evolution, Evolution 2, AFL 23, but they normally take about 4 to 5 years per releases. So on the PS2, this was probably the pinnacle of Australian rules football games, and the games just got better and better. Live 2003 is pretty good. I did enjoy it a lot at the time, when really the game before this was AFL 99, so it had been 4 years. AFL 2004, I really enjoyed this. I believe that's Severia Rocker on the front. If it's not, I'm so sorry. It's been 20 years, it's a long time. So 2004 was really good. Then I believe it was the Premiership Edition. So really just some minor updates there as well. A little bit cheeky. And then 2005, pretty cheeky, releasing a game between a game. There's 2005, and it's probably 05-06 the peak of this series. AFL Live on the PS3 is fantastic as well. But if you are not from Australia, you're probably not familiar with these AFL games. I know when I was living in the UK, they did release these at the local game store, and I was very surprised that you could actually buy Australian rules football games in the UK as well. You could put yourself in the game, you could create your own character using the iToy, and it would photo map your face. It ended up being pretty gruesome, but 2006, and then finally at the very end, 2007. So 6 AFL games in just 4 years. It was the absolute pinnacle of time to be an AFL fan, a video game fan. However, my very favourite AFL game is AFL Live on the PlayStation 3. Did you play any of these games? Let me know if you did. If you've seen these for the first time, let me know. My next unique game for the PlayStation 2 is The Bouncer, which was released by Squaresoft, known at the time for their Final Fantasy series. So 7, 8, 9 had just come out, and before 10 made its way to the PS2, The Bouncer came out very early on in the PlayStation 2 life cycle. Now, I did have a whole entire playthrough of this game, so hopefully I flicked that up the top so you can click it and watch, but it's actually a pretty short game at under 2 hours. And I remember the downside, even though this game has incredible graphics and it's a kind of action beat 'em up game with a few RPG elements there, and the cutscenes are just so incredible, even 24 years later they're so good. But the downside was this game was the full $100 upon release based on where you lived, and it could be beaten in 2 hours. So imagine dropping $100, which is probably $150 Australian, probably $100 US now in 2024 money. Dropping it on a game you could beat in under 2 hours, and there's not really a lot of replayability. So I remember hiring this game out, having this game hired out from a video store back when that was a thing, and playing it that way because, you know, just couldn't justify dropping $100 on a game that could be beaten so quickly as well. But let's have a little look through the manual. But it's still a unique game because Squaresoft didn't really come up with like beat 'em ups and action games like this at the time. They're more known for Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and then when you heard there was a new game from Squaresoft, you're probably thinking 30, 40, 50 hour JRPG, and you got sub 2 hour kind of brawler adventure game. So it is good though. If you play it now, it's a good playthrough, and if you can find the game for about $10 or $15, it's definitely a good 2 hours. You know, as you're trying to play some of these older games, you don't want a game that is 100 hours long when you're trying to clear a backlog. So in 2024, this game being 2 hours long is actually really good, but back in 2000 upon release, yeah, not so great, but definitely a unique game to the Squaresoft catalogue. My next unique game is Drakengard, the first game of, I believe, a 3-game series, and this is when Squaresoft had changed and morphed into Square Enix, their merger with Enix, creating Square Enix, which we know today. And this game kind of reminds me of like Dynasty Warriors, where you're like one character beating up hordes and hordes and hordes of enemies. All of these games are actually quite difficult to find, and I think this game just missed out on my top 10 most valuable list, but it's still at least a $30 to $40 Australian game. I'm not sure in other territories, and I know Drakengard 3 on the PS3 is quite a pricey game as well. This is the only one I actually have in the series. Gave it a little playthrough for this video, so I did enjoy the graphics. Quite a niche game. It's not one that you hear get talked about a lot. Maybe this game was a lot bigger in Japan, and the port over sold probably a few copies, so you don't see this around very often at all. If you're looking for older PS2 games, you might go to a retro game store, you won't generally find these Drakengard games, and if you do, they're probably at least $40 to $50, which is, it's really for the quite hardcore collector. You're not just going to be able to pick this up for a few dollars. And actually, I have no idea where I got this copy from. Maybe in a bundle from someone, or maybe at I just don't know. I can't remember where it came from. I've started putting receipts inside the games now, which help me remember where I bought it and how much I bought it for. But if I bought more than one game, then the receipt only can go in one game. So, but if you are a fan of Dynasty Warriors, I know there's heaps and heaps and heaps of those games. I think I've got 8 somewhere floating around on the PS4. But there's so many Dynasty Warriors games. So if that's the kind of game for you, then you'll enjoy Drakengard if you can track down a copy. But it's a very unique game as well, so I thought it was well worth its inclusion in this video. Like with any of these games, if you have played them, really cool artwork on this book as well. What I do like about the PS2 is you do get cool booklets with all these games as well. But if you've played any of these games, let me know what your favourite one is. If you played them, if you got any unique games of your own that you might have included on this list. It was actually quite hard to find, just 10 out of 486 to pop in this video, but there's this game, Drakengard. The next game on my list is Fur Fighters Vidjo's Revenge. Now, what really caught my attention with this game is it really kind of feels like they're ripping off that Conker's Bad Fur Day vibe. You've kind of got a furry main character with a bit of attitude, with some guns, kind of going against the G-rated mascot type games of your Marios and your Crash Bandicoots and your Spyros, your really lovable characters. So kind of want a mascot with a bit of attitude. I don't really ever hear this game getting talked about, but really just looks like a very, very similar Conker's Bad Fur Day clone. If you've played it, let me know. I haven't really played it very much, but the fluff is about to hit the fan. Furry warriors, heavy artillery, kidnapped babies, brutal fur shed, evil villains and teleportations, all that in the first 10 minutes. Are you ready to enter the deranged, crazy cartoon world of Fur Fighters? A completely unique style of gameplay, first-person shooter with action, adventure and puzzle solving. So I think it's really just like an action game where you can shoot things, so they call it like a first-person shooter as well, but they're really trying to kind of get into that more adult vibe. And I'm not really sure what the rating system is. This game might have come from the UK or Europe, but sometimes the Australian games, for example, here are just just pop it in the top, you'll get the Australian labelling. But generally, we got games from Europe as well, and they'd have the European labelling on there. But at the time, there was no 18 rating, so I don't think this game is too kind of brutal because it's only an 11 plus instead of like a MA or a 15. So I don't think they've gone for like ultra violence, but yeah, it's an interesting game because I don't hear anyone talking about it, and it's kind of been lost to time. So Conkers is remembered quite fondly, but when there's so many PlayStation 2 games, obviously some are going to be well known and some are just going to be absolutely forgotten to the realm of time unless it was a game you played as a kid. So I remember there's some Super Nintendo games that I absolutely love, but if you didn't play them at the time, you probably don't have a deep fondness for them. Things like Breath of Fire and Zombies and Unirally and those kind of games. So if you have a nostalgic, link to a game, you're probably going to enjoy it a bit more. Kind of like Banjo-Kazooie. And obviously Acclaim made Crazy Taxi, so that was an awesome game. So it looks like they made this game as well. So Crazy Taxi I absolutely love. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Fur Fighters. Now the next game on my list is International Cricket Captain 3. Now if you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you'll know that I'm number one, a huge cricket fan, and also number two, a huge cricket captain fan. And I've been playing Cricket Captain for more years than I care to remember. It's literally the only game I play on my phone. It's Cricket Captain, well 24 at the moment, but I've played through 20 and 21, 22, even some of the older games, 2008 and 9 on the channel. So if I can link them up the top, I will, but if not, search the channel for Cricket Captain. I did a big series. Cricket Captain came out really in the mid to late 90s and was primarily a PC game to start with, but then there was some PlayStation 1 adaptions which actually run pretty slowly and sluggishly. Like I have 2002, but I think there's like a 98 or 99 and a 2000 and a 2001 version that kind of released each year on there. And then on the PS2, I think the only one is this one, 3. And it's been off consoles for a long time. And they did release 2024 on console on the Switch. But unfortunately, it's just the download code in a box, which is absolutely gross. Otherwise, I would have bought it just to have on display, but I'm absolutely not buying a code in a box as well, unless it was maybe under $10, because I don't see the point why you have to. You buy physical games to have them long after servers have gone and games have been delisted. I mean, I did just buy, sidebar, but Game of Thrones, the Telltale version on PS4, that's completely delisted. The only way to play that is having a physical copy of the game. So anyway, Cricket Captain I absolutely love. I actually played this quite a lot on the PS2. So I was playing on PC, but at the time I only had a Mac. So to play Cricket Captain, you had to have like Virtual Console on your Mac, and then you had to boot up a kind of like a substitute Windows just to play Cricket Captain. So it was a lot of faffing around. So I did have this, and this had the 3D match engine. So before that used to be, this is the 3D engine that they still have now, and honestly half the game is still the same as all the way back when this game was released in 2007. But before that, it was more kind of like a top-down 2D type of experience. But again, if you're not from kind of England or Australia or one of those countries that love cricket, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, in the Caribbean, then you probably have never even heard of Cricket Captain. So this might be a game you've never seen before. So check out the footage, see what you think. I still love it. I play it on my phone every single day. Now earlier I was talking about nostalgia, games that hold a place in your heart, and this is a game that holds a lot of nostalgia in my heart, a game that I had all the way back when I first got a PlayStation 2, and that is MTV's Music Generator 2. And something that really attracted me to this game was being able to watch the Clint Eastwood Gorillaz video. on the disc whenever I wanted. Everyone, you're so spoiled today. If you're under a certain age, you will know what it's like to have to watch a video hits show just to see the one song that might play that you like, and maybe record it on a VHS to be able to watch it back. There was no YouTube. There was no easy way back in 2001 to watch a music video. YouTube didn't exist. You could download clips, but they would take forever. So I was interested in making my own music. I'm not super musical. I wish I was a little bit more musical than I am, but even not being musical, I remember making many funky beats and tunes and having a great time playing this game. So I know there was like Music 2000 for the PS1 that was really popular. And there was a few kind of music creation games floating around there, but this is the game that I played a lot of. There is Music Generator 3, which I didn't have back in the day, but it's a pretty similar premise. It's the same. Not sure if you get any music videos on here or not, but you've got some music that you can use. But did you have any Music Generator games? It's not really a thing anymore with the power of PCs and the ease of access to music creation, but again, over 20 years ago, games were kind of filling that void as well. So this is a game I have very fond memories in, and I hope you enjoy my little tune off to the side there. Now, back in the mid-noughties, there was a massive battle, which if you were not there, you probably don't realise how huge the battle was, between FIFA and between PES. Now, I was always all in from FIFA from the early days until a friend introduced me to PES 3, and once I got PES 3, I was hooked, and then when PES 4 came along, I was all into PES. So I didn't really have PES 1, but PES started gaining popularity here. PES 1, PES 2. PES 3 I played at a friend's house, and I love this because it's got the referee on here. I played this a lot around my mate's house, and then I went into buying 4. I haven't even bothered taking the stickers off yet. 4 is just such a good game. It's still so playable today. 5 was excellent, and it's a bit tricky because for 6, a lot of people like Pro Evo 6, and maybe they think that's their favourite of the PS2 PES era. I'd probably go with 4 very closely just in front of 5. So those were the PES games as well. What I was really into was LMA Manager. So not really 2002, but 2003, I played it around a friend's house a lot, 04 and 05. So I probably played these 3 before transitioning into Football Manager on the PC around 2006. But we are talking about a bit of an enigma, a bit of a weird game, which is Pro Evolution Soccer Management. Really, you had a lot of management options when you played Master League because you're in control of making your own team and managing your own team. So I'm not really sure what this game was in the who it was in the market for. Maybe it was trying to take some of the LMA Manager crowd, maybe some of the earlier Football Manager crowd, maybe some of the Championship Manager crowd. But for a lot of people, they don't even know that this game exists as well. They're very familiar with the 6 PES games as well, and there was like International Superstar Soccer. But for the actual PES series, people know those. But Pro Soccer Management doesn't really get talked about very much at all as well. So it's a really big book. So I'll try and skim through while you're checking out PES as well. It's really just the same menus that you get in around like PES 4, PES 5 era as well. So you know, I'm sure there were people that did enjoy this game if they were into PES, but it's really kind of like Master League in its own game. So I don't know if they were trying to expand their sales, but I don't think you really get too much more than you'd get by having your own Master League team anyway. But you know, if you did play it, let me know, it'd be awesome. Now, the next game on my unique PlayStation 2 game list is called Prism Chapter 1, The Dark Unicorn. Now, I'm just a little bit of a spoiler for you here. I don't believe there is a Chapter 2, They tried really, really hard to make this an amazing fantasy adventure game that maybe was going to spawn lots and lots of chapters. Maybe a bit like Shenmue, where there was supposed to be about 7 chapters, but really 1 chapter, some mediocre reviews, and no one really ever talked about this game again. So when I saw this game, I thought that's unusual. I haven't even heard of it before. Picked it up, gave it a little playthrough for this video. Look, I'm going to be honest. The bones are there. The magic, the fantasy world appears good. It's just not overly exciting or overly fun. It's a little bit frustrating. It's about a 6 or 7 out of 10. It's a bit plodding. It's not super polished. So I think they tried really hard and they had some great ideas. I'm not sure it sold particularly well. I don't really like the name, like Prism. It's not what you're going to go and rush out and tell all your friends, hey, I got this game, Prism, you need to go and play it. Just sounds a bit weird. So let's have a look at the cover. In a desolate world where mutants reign. I think that's, you make a desolate world, it's easier to create than a thriving world. Fate lies in the hands of 2 unlikely heroes. A corrupting plague of dark magic grips the world. Once lush lands have turned barren, and the inhabitants have become hostile mutant creatures. Now, join the quest of a unique young unicorn and a tenacious old troll in a desperate bid to find and destroy the source of the curse. Okay, so there's a good idea behind there. I mean, it's quite similar to most fantasy style games. You got this cool wizard, there's a unicorn there. I don't know what, oh, this was like I think a price sticker on there. I was trying to wonder what that was. I think it was like half price or something. $30 pre-owned. We've got no manual in there either. I can't remember where I got this from, but you've just got the game disc. It looks fine. It's a shame that there is no manual to show you, but do you remember this game at all? Because I had no idea this game even existed. I'd never even heard of it before I picked it up, so I thought I'd add it to the unique games list. The next game on my unique PlayStation 2 game list is Rez. Now, a lot of people are familiar with Rez. They probably don't realize where Rez originated from. They might be familiar with the PSVR version that I have as well, and you can find a physical version, although I don't have it, I just have it digitally. And also you might be familiar with Rez on the Dreamcast, but not Rez on the PlayStation 2. So I did manage to track down a fairly reasonably priced copy. It's not a cheap game, it's not an expensive game. It might set you back somewhere around 20-30 Australian dollars, maybe more now since I've purchased it. But it's still really good to play in its original form on the PS2 or the Dreamcast. But it's just interesting to see kind of where the idea came. And not a long game, again, probably only a couple of hours long. So maybe back in the day, people were a little bit more adverse to very short games. Now we kind of like a range of games, and games can be priced. If they're short, they can be priced, you know, at $10 or $20 or $30, as opposed to kind of back in the day, games were just a flat $100 for the most part when they came out. So it was a big investment to drop $100 on a game that was maybe only 2 hours long, and it was a little bit out there graphically as well. So while it's styled beautifully now, when you're looking for cutting edge graphics. Back in the early 2000s, maybe you're thinking, gee, this is, you know, let's have a look at the graphics. This is not really what I'm looking for in a game as well, especially if you think of things like Vib Ribbon that didn't sell very well because it was just black and white, where really the gameplay is what's important. But we were in the graphics era back then, and there's a really cool booklet, so this is probably the most exciting thing that you're getting out of here. You've got a really cool design cover. I really like the cover. And I like this simple grey booklet as well. So it is probably a little bit hard for you to see. You definitely need yourself a memory card to have a look. And I kind of like this simplistic kind of orange on black background. And it tells you more about the game. The game doesn't really go through this. The world has become massively overpopulated. It's been crippled by rising crime. Project K has been created. Eden has more advanced AI than any machine. this is kind of what I like about some games when they have booklets. They don't need to tell you this in game, but your job was to read through the booklet. You're about to travel into cyberspace of the Project K network. Open your sensors, and there's your controls. Pretty simple controls, but the game is really fun if you've ever played it. You got your subsystem, and sometimes it tells you a little bit more about what all your support systems do, and how your score works, and how the overdrive works, how hacking works, you know, how everything works there, as well as your kind of character. There's the forms that you can evolve and de-evolve into. So basically you're hacking in this game, but simple premise, very cool game. A lot of people don't realize it's actually on the PS2. You know, they're familiar with the VR game, which is amazing as well. So if you can play it on PlayStation VR, please do. But if you want to track down an original copy, that's awesome as well. And I've saved the very best unique PlayStation 2 game for last, and it is the beloved Simpsons Hit and Run. Everyone is always asking for this to be remastered. If there's one game from the PS2 era that can be remastered, people frequently name drop this game. I played to a fair amount of it right back, all the way back when I started the channel. So if I can pop it up the top, I will, but if I can't, maybe I'll link it at the end of the video, or you can have a search on my channel, because I'm not sure how many people actually watched it, but I did play through at least the first 4 chapters, and it was lots of fun. It does get a little bit hard in some places. It would benefit from a bit of a quick save modernization, or not having to replay entire levels if you mess up one little thing. But it kind of is a bit like the Road Rage game is the Crazy Taxi ripoff, and Hit and Run is more a bit like The Simpsons but GTA, where you go and do missions and complete things and collect things. So save Springfield by car, by foot, by the seat of your pants, and you play as Homer and Marge and Bart and Lisa, and you go around Springfield. It was awesome to have Springfield as like a full 3D world to explore as well. You know, even if it's not completely traditional to the series, just to have, you can drive around, you can go to the Quickie Mart, you can go to the power plant, you can see the Simpsons home in 3D. That was absolutely amazing. So I know there are so many people that would love to see this remade or remastered. I'm not really sure how the rights work with these licensed games. It's always a little bit hard. The Simpsons game on PS3 is pretty handy as well if you've played that. That's pretty cool, but let's have a look inside. Sadly, I only have the Platinum version. I try not to collect Platinum versions of games if I can, but it's also quite a pricey game. I think it just missed out on my top 10 most valuable PS2 games, but will normally set you back, at least in Australia, around $40 to $50, unless you're lucky to jag it online somewhere in a bundle. But I have the Platinum version, so it still plays well, and for some reason when I looked inside, I didn't get 2 copies, but I had a loose copy, and then I also have another copy, and I managed to have 2 Platinum copies. So, you know, when these games are old, sometimes they get a little bit scratched. So with a game as awesome as Simpsons Hit and Run, it's worth it to have a spare copy I must have got from somewhere as well. But let's check out the booklet. The booklet's a pretty good size. Might leave the back for you to have a little look at as well. Let's check it out. I do like the booklet. This is probably one of my favorite PS2 booklets. You've got some cool animation here. 2003, so over 20 years old now. So it's kind of hard to, unless you're a pretty hardcore collector, you do have to have a PS2 that still works and find a copy of this game. So if you're really into game collecting, you're probably like, yeah, no worries, that's pretty easy. But if you're someone who just has the latest console, to track down a PS2 and a copy of this game is, you know, and a working memory card and a good controller, it's kind of beyond what most people are willing to go through just to play like one old game as well. And I know some people do go on the internet and sail the seven seas, but some people are into the authentic, real deal. So the citizens of Springfield are growing suspicious over the sudden appearance of mysterious black vans and video cameras throughout the town. Where do they come from? Who is behind it all? And what's all the buzz about new and improved Buzz Cola? So that's going to be challenging in the later levels. But yeah, please check out my playthrough as well. If you can just chuck it on in the background, that's pretty cool as well. I think they're about half an hour or so an episode. Been about a few years since I've played it, but it was one of the first things I ever season 3 on DVD. It is one of the first things I ever put up on the channel as well, so you might want to go back. You can search like oldest videos to newest and you'll find it somewhere near the start, especially when I used to just chuck random stuff up in the early days as well. So that has been, I know it was slightly more than 10 because I cheated on a couple of games, but that has been my 10 most valuable, not most valuable, but my 10 most unique PlayStation 2 games. If you did enjoy the video, flick a like down the bottom. If you haven't commented, comment and I'll comment back. If you subscribe, you're a legend. I've also made top 10, bottom 10 most unique videos for the PS4, PS3, PS2, and if people enjoy these videos, I will do PS1, Vita, Xbox, Wii U, Switch, you name it, I've probably got it, and I'll make a video out of it. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later.